Hey, how's it going? James with Phoenix Auto Detailing. Now I started this Twitch channel and was going to start streaming of actually working on the vehicle. It's the actual first one. We don't know how it all works, so it's live. I'm going to do some work and you can watch. You can comment if you want to. I'll stop every once in a while and try to remember to check it and possibly answer some questions, and we'll go from there. Oh, let me know what you think, whether you like it. If you don't like it, leave a comment. If you want to subscribe, that's fine. If you want to follow, that's fine. I don't know how this works. If you like it, say something, do something, and I'll figure out whether you like it or not. Thank you. Should probably actually tell you what I'm working on. We've got a Tesla Model S. Came in for a full detail and removed the paint protection film they had on the pillars, the front fenders, the hood, and the front bumper. We've already removed all that stuff, got most of it cleaned off, and we started the polishing. The exterior's been washed. Some of the interior's been done. My helper's not feeling real well today, so he's not here working. But we're in the garage of the house, trying to get famous enough, make enough money actually working. Got quite a bit saved up. We're trying to get a building, trying to get a shop, trying to grow, trying to be the best detailer in our area. Our work is pretty good. We've had well over 150 clients already in a little less than a year's time. Got all good reviews, never got a negative review. Everybody's been happy. So it's just a matter of time until we build up enough clientele, stay steady enough, long enough to actually have the funding to get the building, and we're going to go from there. If you got headphones on, I apologize. The polisher makes some noise and the air compressor kicks on from time to time. So just a word of caution, be ready to rip them off. But what I just did was I'd previously done that side of the hood, or the roof. So I did the remaining 2/3 of the roof in small sections, small controllable sections, and knocked off as much of the swirl marks and everything else that I could get off there so I could identify the deeper scratches. Now the client paid for the polish, which means it just pretty much takes the swirl marks out. The super light stuff that looks like spider webs laying across there. But on the roof here, there are some deeper scratches. I don't know, possibly from maybe his wife setting a purse on there and sliding it across. A grocery bag, some other sort of item or something. There's like scattered patches of a little bit deeper scratches, nothing that's gone through the clear coat into the paint or down to the metal or anything. But I can't just give it a one-time polish and say, hey, that's what you paid for. I see it, and if it bothers me, I'm going to do a little bit of extra work and try and take it out. The hardest thing for me is finding that point that says, okay, I've spent enough time on it. You know, it's time to move on. You know, he didn't pay for the paint correction, which gets into a more abrasive compound that is designed to take deeper scratches out. Now, some scratches will never come out of a vehicle if they're too deep, or they will, but if you go all the way down to the paint, you can get whatever you want out of there, but that's not what we do. We've got a very small amount of clear coat to work with. So we do everything we can to maintain the integrity of the clear coat and not burn through it into the paint and do any damage to the vehicle. Alright, now we move down to the roof, or the hood of the Tesla, and we removed the PPF off of it, the paint protection film, yesterday. So it's not too bad underneath. It's got a little bit of residue left on there. We've cleaned it off the best we can. The first pass of the polish across the whole thing is going to pretty much end up removing everything else. It's been clay barred and everything else, but we'll end up going across it with the polish and removing everything else that won't come off. In case you're wondering, We've got a Rupes Bigfoot 15 polisher, and we use Jack's Wax products. We've got the perfect polish right here. Jack's Wax is a pretty good product. Never had any issues with it. What I'm looking at was a scratch, like a small one that I thought I missed. So I went back over and tried to hit it again with the polisher, with the buffer, and even through the PPF, something hit the hood hard enough to dent it. And there's a small scratch in there, but the scratch is inside the dent. So there's not much I can do to get it out with just a polish, other than to go by with a rag and do it by hand. And if I remember, I'll come back and I'll hit it. Alright, sorry about that. Had to move everything to the other side of the garage. It's part of the issue we have with working in the garage with the door closed is limited space. That's why we're working so hard to find a building. Someplace we could actually get a couple cars into, with plenty of room to move around. Things have picked up. Occasionally we'll have a couple cars that are here overnight, getting paint corrections or set up the next day for a detail. But we've got, I think, possibly enough money to get a place. But I want to make sure I can put the deposit and pay at least 2 or 3 months just as a buffer of the transition period in between moving in. I'm sure there's going to be some unexpected expenses that come up, and just ensuring that we can get the consistency and everything going, that we can actually support it. I'm not afraid to pull the trigger and take a chance, but if you prepare and plan ahead, it just makes it that much easier. Can't get anywhere unless you take a risk. I've taken many risks in my life. I'm willing to take more. I just want to make sure that I set myself up for the best possible opportunities for success. If you're watching and you notice something different between here and between there, and the way, I don't know, maybe the polish looked as I went across it with the buffer, this being flatter of a surface, you'll get a more consistent pattern on there. With this curving up as much as it does with the bigger buffer, the one that I'm using now, it doesn't sit flat, but you can angle the buffer a little bit. As long as you know your tools, understand your limitations and the abilities of the buffer, you can lean it a little bit. But the whole point of the buffer, although it's dual action, is for it to actually rotate, not just vibrate, but actually rotate as it's vibrating. So if it's not rotating, you're not getting the most effective polish or the most effective action on it. So you can kind of lean it a little bit, not too much to generate too much heat in one certain spot, although I'm at a low setting, so I'm not too concerned about it. But if you can angle it enough to get it to curve in here and actually still rotate, you can still get a smooth polish through there. If I run into an issue where I can't get the big buffer in there, I'll end up sticking a piece of blue tape on here to remind myself, and I'll come back with the smaller buffer as a 3-inch pad versus a 5-inch, and it will sit in here a whole lot better. Any other time where you have a really, really sharp one, I don't have a 1.5-inch buffer yet, I will, but if not, I usually have to come through and do it by hand. So a lot of cars that have really, really sharp angles and curves, I do a lot of work by hand on it. That's just what I have to do until I can actually get the equipment. But I just looked at it. If you see me leaning down and going back and forth, I'm taking a reflection of the lights in the ceiling as it reflects off of the vehicle, and I'm actually looking for small scratches. So you won't see them in the regular light outside, but at night when the street lights come on and they reflect off there, that brilliant white light, you'll end up seeing all the scratches and stuff that are on there. And my goal right now is to pull off as much as I can with just a polish. We're not using a cutting compound, so we're not removing or heating up the clear coat that's on this paint too much. We're using a polish, which is a finer compound. It's like using dish soap versus Ajax. I don't know if you're old enough to remember what Ajax is. It's gritty, it's green. It's usually like a powder, and when it gets wet it turns green, and it's like really, really sandy. That's what the heavier compounds are like. They're rougher, they're more coarse, they're more gritty. So they actually put smaller scratches in here to remove the bigger scratches. And then you step from a heavy cutting compound to a lighter cutting compound. And that lighter cutting compound puts even finer scratches in there to remove the bigger scratches that you put in with the heavy cutting compound. And then you move your way through the polishes where it gets finer and finer, and then eventually the theory is that you won't have any small scratches in there, but the scratches are so small that they can't be seen with the naked eye. So, and this is the goal now, is to take out all the super, super fine scratches, although there are some deeper scratches in there that I won't get out with the polish, but I will significantly reduce the visible appearance of them by polishing them a little bit heavier and smoothing them out. They don't stick out as much. And I explained that to the client when he agreed to the polish. So we're getting out everything that we can. And this is what's under the clear paint protection film that was on the hood, both the front fenders, the bumper. Although it had that on there, it still managed to get scratches and nicks in there. But I can only imagine what this hood would look like if it did not have it. You would see rock chips everywhere in there. But it's looking pretty good, so I'm going to get back to work. Hopefully I don't bore you too much. But this is what I do. This is what I enjoy. It's a passion. I'm a veteran, 18 years in the military, a couple tours overseas. I came back, got out of the military, broke down, lost my mind, damn near lost about everything, including my life. And things have changed in the last 3 years. I was working for a major boat company in the area. Never really liked working for anybody else. I'm not a great employee. Actually, I'm a pretty crappy employee. I fire myself. I get fired all the time, even working for myself. But unfortunately, when you're your only employee, you got to rehire yourself back. It's much cheaper that way. But about a year ago, I decided I was done working for everybody else. I took the risk after buying a brand new home. Probably about 4 months after buying a brand new home, I quit my job and started doing this. And as you can see, I'm still in my home. I still have my cars. I've gotten behind on a few bills early on, but I still have everything. I haven't lost it. I'd say it's a huge success, and we're getting busier and busier and more successful. But this is what I enjoy doing. Washing them, getting in all the cracks and crevices when the cars that come in that are neglected, doing the insides of vehicles, and polishing and doing paint correction to me is extremely rewarding. You see something that most people will be like, it's ruined, and you're like, no, bring it here, I'll fix it for you. And although it may not be perfect, it looks freaking amazing. And people are so excited and so thankful and so grateful that the effort that you put into something that they use on a daily basis. They use it to get their groceries. They use it to take their kids back and forth to school. They use it to go to work. They use it when they have to get the kids to the hospital so they don't have to spend money on an ambulance. Their cars are part of their family. Why not give them back something that they can take pride in again? Something that looks amazing again, so that every time they get into it and use it, they feel better about being seen in it. They feel better about driving in it. So it brings their mood up. It raises their spirits. So I don't just detail cars and make them look good. I like to think I improve people's lives. And by improving people's lives, every single time it improves my life. Makes me feel better about deciding to live again and deciding to go forward and do something that I consider to be great. Even if it's in my own mind, that's all that matters. I'd love to live stream all day, every day when I'm working. I don't know if people will be excited about watching it all day, but if you check in every once in a while, find out what I'm working on. We've got a Tesla Model S. First Tesla I've ever seen in person. First Tesla I've ever touched. First Tesla I've ever done anything on. And the guy has been following me, I think he said about 6 or 7 months on the Facebook page. And he's pretty excited. And he contacted me. He asked me if I've ever done a Tesla. I told him no, I've never even seen one up close. I'd be afraid to launch nuclear missiles or something. And he started laughing. And he said he'd be honored for me to do his Tesla as the first one. And he was here when I was working on a previous car. I wish I could talk about it, but there's some things going on with the car. I can't talk about it. It's a gentleman's car. Takes it out to car shows. It's an amazing, amazing, beautiful vehicle. What an honor and a pleasure it was to have that car sitting in my garage with me doing some work on it. Maybe someday when things calm down, I'll be able to come back and talk about it and show pictures and be able to say that I did it. But he takes it out to car shows. He is going to tell everyone who did the work on it. So I will be getting possibly some business from it. I just don't think it's going to be an overwhelming response that I would have gotten if I posted the pictures and video of it, which is a good thing. I could blow up next week, jump into something, get in over my head, and it slows down, or I can't handle the huge success, the rapid success, and something goes wrong and everything crashes down and fails. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with taking it slow, bringing in a few at a time, instead of the overwhelming success rush and taking a chance at screwing up something that I enjoy doing. I'm a detailer, automotive detailer. I do polishes, paint corrections also. It's a passion of mine. It's also what I use to supplement my income. I'm not starving. Haven't lost my house yet, so I think I'm doing fairly decent. We're working on this Tesla Model S, first Tesla I've ever done. I do have a couple videos of us removing the PPF off the front of the vehicle on the Facebook page. If you're interested, you can go look at them. It's up to you. I'm not begging anybody to do anything. It's a free country. You've all got free will. Either you're going to enjoy it and want to watch it, or you're not, and that's fine. If you are watching, I hope you enjoy it. Why? Because I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. But we've got this Tesla Model S. Remove the PPF off the front of it, the paint protection film. That's the clear plastic that they put on everything in the front of the vehicle to keep it from getting ruined faster than everybody would like. It did do its job. It saved the vehicle a lot of damage, but unfortunately it looked pretty bad, and it was time for it to come off because it was making the car look bad overall. Client wanted a polish done on it, so we're removing all the swirl marks and all the minor scratches out of it. And yes, I'm putting in a little bit of extra work to remove some of the deeper scratches and to soften them up, the ones I can't get out with just the polish. Yes, I always put more effort into my work than what I should. Not what I should, but what the client pays for. Just because if I'm not happy with it, I expect they're not going to be happy with it. But I always put more work into it. Never had a complaint yet. People are excited when they get their vehicles back and find out how great they look. We're getting ready to do the passenger side of the vehicle. I taped up the chrome on top. I put the mirrors in. I have not taped this up on the bottom yet because I'm going to go along with the big buffer and do all the bigger panels all the way down. And then come back later on and tape up the chrome on the bottom and use a smaller buffer to get that area. It's a lot easier to get into smaller places, a lot more control, less opportunity to cause any damage. So I'm gonna get back to work. I do work out of my garage at home. We're in the process of looking for a building. One of the issues in here is air circulation and dust control. It does get kind of dusty. So right now I just misted the door panel. I'm wiping off any dust on here that may get stuck in the buffer pad and cause any damage or any scratches that I'm trying to get out. We want to avoid putting anything in there and causing myself more work. I don't know if there's any sponsors out there that are looking. I'm using a Rupes Bigfoot 15 polisher. We are proud to use Jax Wax products. We have the Jax Wax Perfect Polish. And we have Rupes' blue wool heavy polishing pad. It says coarse wool polishing pad. Works really, really good. It's a more aggressive polishing pad. And the more aggressive pad with this polish, it enables us to quickly go across it with one, possibly two passes and get out all the minor scratches that we're trying to get out of this vehicle. I could go with a less aggressive pad, but I'd more than likely have to go over it 2, possibly 3 times. And it's a little more work than necessary. So we use a little bit more aggressive pad with the polish. And we find it's a pretty good combination to get the job done. We just use a small amount. And we use Jax Wax's Body Shine diluted 50/50 as like a lubricant. It keeps the pad wet and moist so it doesn't generate too much heat and possibly cause any damage. I don't have any LED lights or bright white lights on the wall behind me. So I use an LED light to put close to the vehicle. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the reflection of the light on the clear coat to identify any scratches or anything that I may have missed. And there's a couple along in here that does curve. So I may stick a piece of blue tape on there, come back later on with a smaller buffer, where I can get in there a little bit better. Everything else looks pretty good. Right around here around the door handle. Top part looks pretty good. And along the bottom down here. So I'll put a few pieces of blue tape. That way I'll know to remember to come back with a smaller buffer. And hit it. Although I can say, hey, I polished it. I didn't get any of the bigger scratches out. I don't know. I do more work than what I charge for. But that's just me. Give it, it'll come back to you. And that's my, hey, come back and check this later tape. Overall, the surface looks amazing. All of the lighter scratches are out. All of the, what we call spider webbing or swirl marks that you get from driving through car washes or washing your car yourself and having small, super small pieces of dirt and grit in wash mat, washcloth, whatever it is that you're using puts all kind of super small scratches in there and kind of dulls the finish. A polish removes all the super fine scratches and gives it a deep shine again. If you don't live in the area, feel free to contact me, leave a message or a comment on here. Go to the Facebook page. You can reach us through the Facebook page. Ask questions. If you're thinking about getting your car done, you live in another state, another country, Canada, Japan, Iraq, it doesn't matter where you live. Somebody out there loves cars enough and has a passion for doing what I do. Ask me all the questions you want. I encourage my clients to ask questions, and I give them at least 2 options, hopefully possibly 3. Explain all the options to them and then let them make an informed decision. I don't want anybody feeling bad about, oh, I spent more than what I wanted to. I'm not sure if it was worth it. When people come by, I would rather hear them say, you should have charged me more, than I would, well, I think I paid too much for what you did. I always give more than what I charge for. It'll come back to me sooner or later. I've had a $100 tip before. You put the work into it, you put the love into it, you put the passion into it, it shows, and it comes back to you. But I'm gonna get back into it. If you have questions, and reach out, ask questions. I don't care. I'm not gonna make any money after answering your questions, but I go to sleep at night knowing that somebody's gonna make an informed decision, and someone's gonna be happy. Because having your car polished like this, it's amazing. Especially if you love your car. And if you don't love your car and you get it polished, you might just love it.